Well, most importantly, we're in fire season. You're not supposed to have any outside recreational fires outside of designated campgrounds or picnic facilities, for one. Two is taking extra precautions in the actions that they're taking outside, whether that's mowing in the heat of the day around dry grass, um, where you utilize barbecues, and particularly like charcoal barbecues. Is it's not a good idea when there's windy conditions and low humidity. And then extra precautions around your house, the proximity of your gas grill to your home, which is already superheated. Any of those things that generate fire are going to be of a higher risk. Where we look to ask people to take extra precautions is if you're towing a trailer, to make sure your chains are secure and not dragging, as is very frequent for wildfires to be started from sparks from train or from chains and other vehicle maintenance issues that might cause sparks. Welding, ATV usage, off the roadway, in dense vegetation, all are high risk activities during red flag warning.
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, it's coming to the end of summer, but right now we're in peak wildfire season when we see them ramp up even more and more frequently. What is that difference between, when a red flag warning comes in versus when there's not one? Do all of those same limitations apply in that case scenario?
Yeah, anytime you're in fire season, you need to take extra precaution, chains, sparks, those types of things. The usage of recreational fire outside of approved areas, all of that, fire season's a problem. When you're doing it during a red flag warning, what you're risking is an accident from becoming a catastrophic fire. And what I think a lot of people don't realize, if you're the cause of a catastrophic fire, you may be liable for thousands, if not $1 million in fire suppression efforts. And our partners with the state and federal agencies that manage our public lands will come for restitution for fire suppression efforts. And so, whether you're a property owner violating the Oregon Department of Forestry's fire use restrictions around equipment and chainsaws, those types of things are all high risk activities. And again, what all the red flag warning does during fire season is it changes and says a small fire can become a catastrophic fire quickly because of increased winds and low relative humidity. And we here in the southern Willamette Valley are just now getting into that spate where our fuels are completely dry and the risk of rapid spread is a much higher risk from now through September.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit, even going into Lynn County where there's a lot of grass, and even here in Eugene, again, we have like those dense kind of forest areas. We obviously have that metropolitan area and then those grass vegetational areas. How fast and how different can a fire spread, say, in those denser areas, say, versus grassland? Because they're still both very devastating when they do happen. Just kind of those differences, how you guys deal with it, and again, what people can do, even like farmers out there that are just trying to take care of their land, even if their own vehicles, like how can people prevent, say, those and the differences between the two?
The first thing when we're talking about farmland, forest land, those types of things that are covered by the Oregon Department of Forestry's fire use restrictions is to pay attention to that. What's the fire level? What's the industrial precautions? Because the reality is a lot of these fires are going to start in those grassy areas, as we call as light, flashy fuels. They dry out really fast. And what they do is they get the fire momentum as it gets into that dense vegetation. It's a lot harder for a fire to get started in dense vegetation. So that's why the blend between the two is really those high risk areas.
Absolutely. And when it comes to specifically, again, kind of prepping for fire season, again, I feel like there's a general consensus out there. People are like, oh, it's the end of summer, like we're going to be doing okay soon. But how do you guys prepare specifically? I know it's still wildfire season, but since we're getting into that more extreme time where this is really at its height right now.
For us, especially when we're in an extreme heat warning, basically from now until the end of the day on Tuesday. So red flag or not, those are high risk fire times for us. Our crews stay in quarters in the afternoons when they're not running calls. So instead of being down here training, and particularly in our wildland urban interface areas, those crews are in quarters if they're not on calls. We hire back additional staffing on red flag days to staff wildfire specialty apparatus. We have multiple crews that have those apparatus available to them. We call swing onto them. They'll get off their fire engine and take a brush truck out if they need to. So that's really is we just kind of buckle down and prepare for the high risk, and then collectively the fire agencies in Lane County work together on pre-positioning at the most risky times, but we have a preset task force or agreement of a number of resources that can be called immediately to come in and help suppress fires.
That's amazing. And another thing, kind of a last question that I've discussed within fire season that a lot of people, still bring up is, those alerts, letting people know. Can you talk a little bit about how important these alerts and being signed up for lane alerts is when it comes to evacuating, being able to, get to safety in that sense when a fire does break out?
Yeah, I think incredibly important is that lane alerts is the one true source for evacuation information and updates as these fires progress. So being signed up for that, getting the notice for the high heat event or the red flag warnings, or in the rare case an extreme fire weather warning, it's good information to change your behaviors to prevent wildfire. Right? Smokey the Bear says only you can prevent wildfires. We can do what we can to prepare the community for it, but it's individual choices that will protect us from a large catastrophic fire. So sign up for lane alerts, make sure you know when it's a high risk time, make sure you follow fire regulations, and make sure that you have up-to-date information for evacuation should they occur.
I do have one last final question, because I did a story on it not that long ago, specifically the Oregon Hazard Lab and those wildfire cameras that they have throughout the state. I just want to know how frequently you guys use those cameras, and if you use them at all when it comes to getting out to a fire, detecting when a fire happens before even, say, those alerts do go out.
Yeah, that's a great question. The Oregon Hazards Lab and the partnership that they have to give us access to those cameras is phenomenal. One, we can track what's going on. If there's a fire near our response area, we can look at the camera and see, what the risk is, and we can prepare for that. But most importantly, there's been a few incidences where the AI fire detection for fires in our jurisdiction have come in. Battalion chief's gotten it and headed that way long before anybody sees it and calls 911. And so, yeah, it feels like that's a forest fire issue. Really, it's an us issue. We can see our fires. As a chief, if I'm not here at work, I can log on to that and just see what's going on locally in my area. But yeah, it's been a very important program for us to have access to.